Your daily dose of sports talk is here. Highlights, interviews, and analysis. From the entertainment capital of the world, SportsWrap with Jason Page starts now.
And we welcome you to it, this Thursday edition of the show with so much to do over the next 60 minutes. NCAA tournament is here. We'll get to that coming up in the big story. We'll have our Final Four picks coming up in about 15 minutes. You'll want to stick around for that, Sam Yarnell and myself. I don't want to disappoint anybody in advance, but I'm very chalky this year when it comes to my picks. You want to go with all the underdogs and Cinderellas, have at it. I'm just not there this year. So that's coming up a little later on in the show. Big news out of the NBA, which we'll touch on briefly in the big story. News from baseball, a whole bunch more. Dennis Bernstein is here today because if it's Thursday, we're talking hockey with him in the SportsWrap Spotlight as we head down the stretch run of this NHL regular season into the playoffs. You'll want to stick around for that. But we start things out as we always do on this Thursday. It's time for the big story. And the big story is the start of the NCAA tournament, which obviously we are all jazzed up about here. And again, because of when we tape the show and put the show together each day, by the time you've watched this, most of the opening round games for Thursday are already in the books, or at least some of them are. Hopefully you've enjoyed them. But one of the big stories of this tournament, leading into this tournament, was undoubtedly Miami of Ohio, the RedHawks, who went undefeated during their regular season, only to fall in the opening round of the MAC tournament against UMass. And it had a lot of people questioning, even before they got to their conference tournament, even when they were undefeated through the regular season. So much of what we heard about when it came to this Miami of Ohio team was their strength of schedule. It was the third or fourth weakest in all of college basketball. Out of like 356 teams, they had the weakest schedule in college basketball, which led a lot of people to sort of bang on them. That you just, and I did a whole thing on this, the fact that we can't have nice things in sports. We can't even have good stories anymore in sports because there's always going to be somebody needling, nitpicking, trying to find some reason to find fault with these kids that just went out and played the schedule that was in front of them and were the only undefeated team throughout the regular season in college basketball, this Miami of Ohio team. So they obviously had a chip on their shoulder getting placed in the first four game last night against SMU, and then probably finding out, because whether guys admit they pay attention to this stuff or not, they do, that they were 6.5-point underdogs to a fellow 11 seed in SMU as the two faced off for the right to take on Tennessee on Friday. And what did this team do, these kids from Miami of Ohio? They went out and they laid the hammer down to SMU. I mean, they led for almost the entirety of this game, and they played their brand of basketball. And it was essentially a home game for them because you had this game being played in Dayton, which is only about 25 miles from Miami of Ohio, by the way, not Miami, Florida. And you had this team go out there and do their thing. And it got me to thinking, though, about the NCAA tournament at large. As we get ready to go through these next few weeks. And while everybody will sit there and say, their goal is to win the tournament, why not us? And sometimes you'll get Cinderella stories and that's all great. But the reality is this. Everybody's playing for something different in this tournament. Again, on the surface, the facade that is presented is, we're out there to try and win this tournament, why not us? But the reality is much different than that. For a team like Miami of Ohio, why it would be the story of stories if they wound up, making some miracle run to the Final Four, it's probably not going to happen. That said, they are still playing for something. They're playing for respect because throughout the whole season, as this undefeated run went on, they had people, basically pooping on them, saying that this team wasn't really an undefeated team. Look at the conference they play in. Look at the teams they play against. Look at their out-of-conference schedule. All this stuff that to the general sports fan means absolutely nothing. Their Ken Palm score. again, to the average sports fan that's just watching college basketball for the first time this year, they know nothing about that. They don't care. To the 16 seeds that are out there that on occasion have actually won games, the idea for them is respectability. The idea for them is shining a spotlight on their university, that they get 2.5, 3 hours for at least one day for everybody to find out who this school is, who is Howard, who is Prairie View, UMBC years ago. That we see these teams that get an opportunity to get a spotlight cast on them that's never cast on them for the other 364 days out of a year. That's what the NCAA tournament's about. It's about the stories of the guys that, you may not have heard of because they weren't the top prospects in high school. They weren't Mr. Indiana basketball. They weren't those guys. That's what this tournament is as much about. Yeah, we're going to get to the Final Four in a few weeks, and it'll be great, and we'll have some amazing moments throughout this tournament. But just keep in mind, not every team is playing for the same thing, despite what they may tell you. That is part one of the big story. Part two of the big story was the breaking news we all woke up to on Thursday morning, and that was Cade Cunningham, an MVP caliber player for this Detroit Pistons team that has big aspirations for the postseason, now being ruled out, and who knows for how long, with a collapsed lung. Suffered in a game last night against the Wizards while diving for a loose ball, something that players do a zillion times in the course of a game. Cade Cunningham will be out for weeks as a result of this. And now the question becomes, how does this impact the Pistons when it comes to the postseason? Will they still probably be the 1 seed? Yeah, but we talked about this before. Everything you see in the NBA playoffs, especially this year, feels like it's matchup predicated. If you match up with the Pistons now in the opening round, and there is potentially no Cade Cunningham in that opening round, you got to feel like your chances just improved dramatically. That is part two of the big story. We will expand upon it later on in the show. Hey, don't forget, if you are watching us, go say hi to one of our new sponsors on the show, our friends at Colossus Fantasy. Colossus Fantasy, pick'em games, peer-to-peer. The NCAA tournament is here. They've got great promotions going on. Go and check out our friends at Colossus Fantasy. Download the app today and use promo code SportsWrap when you sign up and make your first deposit. $10 deposit gets you a $50 bonus. A $20 deposit gets you a $100 bonus from our friends at Colossus Fantasy. We're coming back. Talk more NCAA tournament. Sam Yarnell is here next. Welcome back to the show. Time to expand upon what we were discussing in the big story. NCAA tournament talk. And Sam, you may not have heard it in the big story, so I'll recap it real quick. To me, the NCAA tournament, while every team will sit there and talk about wanting to win the tournament, every team, really depending on, where you fit in, is playing for something different. Everybody's saying they're playing to win the tournament. But let's be honest. If you're a Miami of Ohio, realistically you're probably not winning this tournament. But you're fighting for respect because you went undefeated in the regular season and you still had people doubting whether or not you even belonged in the tournament. So a win like last night is validation for that team. They were underdogs last night, 6.5-point dogs against SMU. So if you're a team like Miami of Ohio, you're playing for something different. If you're a 16 seed, you're playing for something different. If you're some of these teams that just squeaked in, last four in, one of the last ones in, you won a small conference tournament, you're playing for something different. Everybody's playing for something different in this tournament. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that in the overall scheme of things of our brackets and trying to figure out, all this, that, and the other. But to me, and I think one of the things that makes this tournament so intriguing, and unlike anything else in all of sports, and that's not being hyperbolic, is the fact that the stories that are built into this tournament, and CBS and Turner and all those guys, they've always done a fantastic job telling those stories. And that's what I'm most excited about here for the next few weeks, is the stories that come out of each of these games that, much like the Olympics used to do, where it used to be about the stories, the NCAA tournament is about stories. And starting today, we get those stories.
Yeah, it certainly is. And we always have the heroes of March, right? The Jack Golkes, like from last year of the world, that come on to the scene from a small school and make their names for themselves within this tournament. And then that is what's so wonderful about it, right? Is you have, Troy playing against Nebraska in the first round.
Give me Troy, by the way.
You have Hofstra playing against the University of Alabama. You have schools whose entire endowment is equivalent to what their opponent is putting into the men's basketball program. It is, the one time, like Jason said, in sports that is unique, and we see these kinds of competitions, and it does truly make it great. The college football playoffs started to try and get there, and then everybody went up in arms about it, and so I don't think they'll ever get close to that ever again. But the college basketball and March Madness and the tournament that the NCAA puts on every March and April is truly the epitome of that. But I will say, Jason, to an extent, I do think that every team does have the same goal, right? And that is win it all. And you do see that come to fruition every couple of years by whatever team it is making a deep run, be it George Mason all the way back to the Final Four 20 years ago, or Butler to the Final Four 15 years ago, or Arkansas as an 11 seed to the Elite Eight last year, right? What we see is there are always these teams, and it's part of the beauty of the uniqueness of the competition. There are always these teams that nobody expects that can somehow hold water with the best of the best, and that is what draws us as fans back year after year after year. You didn't have to go to Oakland for you to be rooting for Oakland last year after they beat Kentucky. You don't have to go to some of these small schools. You didn't go to Troy, Jason Page, but you're still rooting for them against Nebraska today. And that, in and of that, is the beauty of March, and that is the beauty of what college sports brings us this time of year.
It is. And Miami of Ohio, give them all the credit in the world. They get their first win since 1999 in the NCAA tournament, which is hard to believe that it's been that long. But
Prairie View A&M too.
Yeah.
Prairie View A&M, nothing to shake a stick at, beating Lehigh, a team who has won tournament games and has had NBA players come through that program, and they have a ton of a ton of resources behind that program. For them to get stomped out by another underdog in Prairie View A&M, credit to that program too.
Yeah, and obviously we won't be going through the games today, because by the time you've seen this show, there will be games that have already taken place, because we tape early in the morning, closer to noon on the East Coast. So a lot of those games will just be getting started shortly. But we'll go through the games each day through the tournament and understand that we tape in the morning on the weekdays. So obviously, some of what we talk about will be a little bit behind. But Sam, I want to get your thoughts on who wins this thing. I had to go through. I told you I'm the kid that does his homework literally right before the exam. So last night I sat up. That's why I'm blary-eyed today. I sat up last night and went through everything and tried to figure out who the national champion was going to be. I have my Final Four. I'm dying to hear yours. Duke, by the way, the favorite to win it all at now it's Arizona at plus 390. These numbers are going to be moving probably throughout the show. Arizona at plus 390 over on FanDuel, then Michigan at plus 400, and then Duke at plus 430 is the latest. Florida 650. Wow. You could get UConn at 35-1 right now.
What's the saying you use? What's the saying you use? Just give me your money, I'll kick you, and we'll call it even.
God.
That's all you need to do with that.
Sam, give me your Final Four.
Jason, I'll say this. That's one other thing that you and my girlfriend have in common. You both spend time with me every day, and you both waited until last night to fill out your bracket. I'll give you my Final Four real quick. I have Kansas and Illinois in the East-South matchup. I think that Kansas is poised to go on a run. We talked to Kurt Heelan about what Darren Peterson needs to prove. Give me Kansas against the tallest team in the tournament in Illinois, a team that everyone keeps sleeping on. In the East-South matchup, West-Midwest, I'll go Arizona and Iowa State. I am going Big 12 heavy in my Final Four. Final matchup, I'll go Arizona and Illinois. And Jason, I think Illinois cuts down the Nets this year. Give me the Fighting Illini.
Good Lord. Who'd you have in your East-South matchup again?
Kansas and Illinois.
Interesting. All right, I got a minute. I will go in my East-South matchup. I'm going UConn and Houston. I pick UConn every year, by the way. UConn and Houston in my East-South matchup, and in my West-Midwest matchup, Arizona and Michigan. And my championship game is UConn and Michigan, and I have UConn winning. So there you go. That's my Final Four and my winners. And UConn at 35. I may have to put it, now that I've seen they're 35-1, I may have to go. But how do you not? Look, Bill Bender said this to us on the show, Sam. There's probably a dozen teams that can win this tournament. And if you don't think UConn is one of those, then you're out of your mind. UConn is certainly one of those teams. But we'll see how it all plays out. We'll be following it every day here on the show, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Dennis Bernstein talks hockey with us next. Welcome back to the show. If it's a Thursday, usually this guy's here. Dennis Bernstein, thefourthperiod.com, SiriusXM NHL Radio, in the SportsWrap spotlight today. Talk some hockey with him. All right, I got a few things that I want to kind of chew over with you because we haven't had you on for a couple weeks. Start with the Austin Matthews injury because I haven't had a chance to sort of pick your brain on it and the reaction to it and the suspension given out to the guy that hurt him, the knee-on-knee injury. Is this more than just a Toronto gripe? Like, is there a large clamoring around the league for how these sorts of suspensions are handled, Dennis?
When Connor McDavid says they need to review it, yeah, it's a bigger thing. It's as simple as that. When he stands up, who's not very vocal, and says maybe we need to look at the review process, yeah, it's a bigger thing. According to the rules, that was a fair suspension, right? Now, you could also say, well, he should be out for as long, Gudas should be out for as long as Austin Matthews is out. But the problem with that is if you had Nathan MacKinnon hit a fourth-line player and the fourth-line player got hurt for the rest of the season, would you sit Nathan MacKinnon for the whole season? Of course you would. So you can't equate it that way. But could there be a review process? Yeah, it's a dangerous game, Jason. People get hurt all the time, and they get hurt even more this season because of the compacted schedule and the Olympics, right? I think the bigger issue is not with respect to the Department of Player Safety. It's with the Toronto Maple Leafs, where nobody defended his honor. Nobody went after him. And I get it's an old code, and people don't like that. But you got to go after that guy. I know Radko Gudas is a real scary guy. Maybe there's not a guy on the team that could fight him. But the lack of response, it's opened up this Pandora's box. Now the question is, does Austin want to stay in Toronto? It hasn't been good with respect to getting to a Stanley Cup final. It hasn't been good in the playoffs. Right? He's an American who won a gold medal. He's playing in Toronto. There's some pushback on that. So should it be reviewed? I think there should always be process improvement. I think the league has to look at how suspensions are made and given out in the rules. Should be a subject for review? I think we're at that point right now. Do I think it's out of control? I don't. But when it happens to Austin Matthews and he's laying on the ice in Toronto, it gets everybody's attention. So would I have a problem with the review of the process? I don't. I'm not sure how much it would change, though.
Yeah, and it's funny. It reminds you of how other leagues handle these things. If it were the NFL, by next week they'd have a new rule. You think of Tom Brady. Oh my God, somebody rolled into his leg. We have to create a new rule. That's what happens. The NHL is like, no, we're going to take a more measured approach to how we handle this sort of thing.
Yeah, well, it's a conservative league. The owners are conservative. Gary Bettman's in the 70s. They're not going to rush to judgment here. And the fact that former players like George Powers run the Department of Player Safety, maybe you need a medical guy. I don't know. I think we're at a point where we could review the process and see if there could be process improvement. Yes.
Sidney Crosby, goal, assist, his return, again, talking about injuries, injured during the Olympics, what his return means here late in the season.
It means everything to this team, right? They're going to need him in the playoffs. They will make the playoffs. They still need to play better defense. If you watched that game last night in Carolina, it was a track meet, and that's not going to win games in the playoffs. But certainly an emotional boost. Certainly from a playing standpoint is a boost. And him and Letang and Malkin are playing pretty well. And they're in a spot where they could get home ice, in the first round. Do I think they're a Stanley Cup threat? Do I think they can get out of the conference? I don't. I think there's too many holes on the team. But it can only help this team who's really overachieved. You know, people talking about this team could be in the running for Gavin McKenna, first overall pick, and now they're in the running for home ice in the first round in the Metro Division.
Amazing.
Dennis, I actually have a couple of other questions before we get to my Buffalo Sabres, my beloved Buffalo Sabres, who are tied for first place in the Eastern Conference right now. There's been so much chatter, and you and I kind of spoke a little bit. We referenced it a little bit before we got on air here. The way the playoffs are set up, and obviously this is a conversation we have every single year, but the point discrepancies are just as big as they've ever been, especially in the Western Conference this year. Is there any shot that there's a reformatting of the playoffs after this season?
Well, they had a GM's meeting in Florida. And if you listen to Gary Bettman, there's no chance. It's not going to change. Because I go back, and Chris Mason, who's a former Nashville Predators goaltender, he does some analyst work on. He did it on TNT last night. Me and him went back and forth on social media because I think it was 2 seasons ago. If you reseeded the teams 1 through 8 in the East, you have the same matchups. Right? Here's the thing. Who cares if you lose in the first round or the second round? Right? There's no easy path to winning a Stanley Cup. That's why it's the best trophy in all sports. Like, you got to beat good teams. I'm sorry. And for the people that say you should reseed, well, let's look at it the other side of the coin. If Colorado wins the division, the Central, they get to play, let's say, either LA or Seattle, first round. If they come in second, they play Minnesota. So don't you want to reward the team that came in first with an easier matchup? I don't understand what the pushback is on that. I get it, like two great teams are going to play each other. It happens every year. 100-point team is going to get knocked out. So what? That's the nature of the business. Like, the Stanley Cup playoffs are the best part of this game. Don't touch them. Don't touch the seeding. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I've been against it. I think we just should move on from there.
The other thing that nobody in the hockey world, including on TNT last night during the intermission report, everybody's talking about, Dennis, Puckgate. I got to get your thoughts on it. Who does the puck from the gold medal game belong to?
The Hockey Hall of Fame. You know, here's what Jack should do, and I know other players do it. Get your game-worn jersey, who they actually used at the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah.
Get your game-worn jersey, frame it, put it in your man cave. The puck isn't yours. The jersey's yours. You wore the jersey. It's a 24-year-old kid who's full of himself. I get it. I love Jack. I think he's great for the game. He overstepped. It's okay. He made a mistake. He made a mistake in judgment. It should stay in the Hall of Fame. And if Jack wants to go visit his puck next year when they play Toronto, he can go on York Street and go visit the Hockey Hall of Fame and visit his puck.
I think this whole thing is so funny. It really is. I am 100% on board with you, Dennis. It belongs in the Hall of Fame. It's the puck. The puck belongs in the Hall of Fame. And now he's kind of backed off of it.
Yeah, as he should.
Yeah, and cooler heads prevailed. Somebody smart obviously gets to him. And he's saying the right things now, but his initial comments, which tells you how he probably really feels about it.
The brash kid, I get it. He said he used to remember one time he sat a couple of years in the Penny Park. People pay to see me. Like, okay, I get it. It's great. It's great personality. I don't want him to back off because I want the personality.
Yeah. Dennis Bernstein's going to hang out with us for one more segment. We'll get to Sam's beloved Buffalo Sabres and a whole bunch more next. Welcome back. This Thursday edition of SportsWrap continues, and so does our SportsWrap Spotlight today, which is our friend Dennis Bernstein of thefourthperiod.com, SiriusXM NHL Radio. All right, Sam, I will cede the floor to you because you've just been dying to wax poetic about the Buffalo Sabres, which, people in Florida are just going to love hearing about as they watch the show today. People in Phoenix are going to love hearing about today. People in D.C. are going to love hearing about today.
Love it. It's a great story. Come on.
That's right. That's right, Dennis. Thank you. Also, they don't even have a hockey team in Phoenix anymore because they hate hockey so much out there. So let's get to it, Dennis. My beloved Buffalo Sabres. You can't deny it. It's been a historic season for them. They look just like they did 20 years ago in 2006. What is the ceiling for this team? Because I keep reflecting after every game that I watch, and they beat the Golden Knights in Las Vegas the other night, and I thought to myself, right, this is a good team. This is a team that may win their division after all, but what is their ceiling? Is this a team that could make it to the Stanley Cup final?
I'll give you a little anecdote, Sam. Before I did this spot, I was on in Calgary, and they asked me in the Eastern Conference, I think from top to bottom, 11 points separate the teams. They asked me who I would trust the most in the East. And I hesitated for about 15 seconds, and I said, the Buffalo Sabres. I did. I don't trust Carolina. Like, they have a 5'7" second-line center. Their goaltending isn't the best. You saw it last night against Pittsburgh. Like, I don't know what's going on in Tampa. Like, I guess they're old. They get a little bit beat up. They're 3-7 in the last 10. Like right now, in the moment, the best team in the East is the Buffalo Sabres. Do they have a legit shot to go to the Stanley Cup final? They do. There's no powerhouse team. There isn't. And they have all the components that travel in the playoffs. They have depth. They have size. Their blue line's really good. They're getting goaltending. They're getting saves. UPL shut out the Vegas Golden Knights in Vegas the other night. They have all the components. Can they do it when the lights get really bright? I don't know. I don't know how this team will respond in the playoffs. But right now, the way they're playing, they're a legitimate threat to get to a Stanley Cup final. They are. They're going to win the division, and they're probably going to play Boston, Detroit. You have them winning that. It's a legit team, Sam. It really, really is. They put it all together very, very quickly over a space of, 50-some-odd games.
Yeah, it's incredible. You mentioned the Lightning, and one of the most confusing things to me about this Lightning team, Dennis, is how they've struggled recently as much as they have while getting the performance that they've gotten out of Nikita Kucherov. Yeah. I know you kind of just lightly touched on it there with their age, but they still have a proficient scorer, arguably the most in the league right now. What is going on with Tampa Bay?
Well, the depth isn't coming through. Like when they win, Nikita gets his 2 points a game, whatever, but their depth comes through, and it's not coming through right now. So the guys that they're counting on, and you need that even when they won. Remember, they had that great third line of Barclay Goodrow and Gord and I forget the third guy, but their depth isn't there right now. So Nikita will still get points. They played well in Seattle the other night, but that's the reason why it's a top heavy team. Is it good enough to get through? It could be. Because I think it always goes back to the guy in net, the big cat, Vasilevsky. If he's going to stand on his head, he's going to give up 2 goals a game, they still got a shot to win. But the reason they're not winning right now, I think it's a factor of maybe a little bit of an injury factor, but also the depth isn't really producing right now.
Let me get a thought from you on Las Vegas, since I am here in the belly of the beast in Las Vegas with a team that's leaking oil right now. By the way, hello to our friends watching on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network. This is a team that's leaking oil right now. Potential first round matchups for them, anything that really scares you, like who is potentially the most dangerous first round opponent for them that could send them home early?
Well, if they stay in the 2-3 seed in the Pacific, there's nobody dangerous. It's the worst division in hockey by far. So I wouldn't be afraid of playing a Seattle or even an Edmonton. Who knows with Leon Draisaitl? They say he's going to come back for the playoffs. Is he? If he's not there, then you want to play that team. I wouldn't be frightened of anything there. That I don't think that's an issue right now. The issue is internally, right? They traded for Rasmus Anderson. He hasn't been good. Who's the Aiden Hill hasn't been good. Carter Hart was supposed to be the guy. He's not the guy, right? So I think it's all. But they're a big, heavy team, and that play travels in the playoffs. So I'm less concerned about them in the regular season because when it switches to game 83, Jason, like that type of play works. The depth is still there. They really miss William Karlsson. I think that's really been undersold. That really would help their depth because they had Mitch Marner playing at center. So I don't think there's any team that they should be afraid of in the first round. But once they get to a conference final, they can get out of the division. Then you really got to be concerned because pound for pound, they don't stack up against any of the top 3 in the Central right now.
Sam, take us home.
Dennis, I remember early on in the season, maybe not early on, maybe about halfway through, you and I talked about the Avalanche and how dominant they had been and how just outstanding compared to competition they were night in and night out. The Stars have caught almost all the way up to them. Are the Stars as good as Colorado?
Yeah, they are right now. And even Jared Bednar's now separating Devon Taves and Cale Makar, which you would never thought would happen. Like, again, it's been the top of everything. They're like Tampa, their depth hasn't produced. Like, they got Nas Kadri. He's playing on the wing right now. It's is he going to play center in the playoffs behind Nelson and McKinnon? But they haven't delivered because and their goaltending has been suspect. And when you look at that team, as great as they were playing, Sam, you said, what's the one Achilles heel for this team that could happen in the playoffs? It's goaltending. They're using Mackenzie Blackwood's been banged up. He hasn't been good. They've been really stretching Wedgwood. And because they're stretching Wedgwood, he's giving up more goals. Will he be okay for game 83? I don't think it's going to be rotation. So combination of the depth not really producing and the goaltending's been a little bit suspect.
Dennis Bernstein, thefourthperiod.com, SiriusXM NHL Radio. You can catch him there. I know you got a trip coming up to Salt Lake City to see the Mammoth. Enjoy that, my friend. Always good to talk to you.
Always great talking puck with you boys. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Odds and Ends wraps it up 10 minutes from now. MLB making news today. They have an official prediction market. Because we all need an official something, I guess. Sam Yarnell, let's talk some NBA. Some shows, fancy shows, have breaking news. My God, if you watch news channels these days, there's literally breaking news all the time. It's one of my biggest pet peeves in all of journalism. The breaking news thing. 12 hours later, it's still breaking news. Heck, the war's been going on in Iran for 3 weeks, and they're still calling it breaking news. No, it's not breaking anymore. It's broken. And that's what we have here on SportsWrap, because we do the show early in the morning. So by the time you watch a show, what we think is breaking news is actually broken news. And the broken news today is out of Detroit, and very serious news. All kidding aside, when it comes to Cade Cunningham, because the Pistons are going to be without their star for a heavy chunk of time. I'd be shocked if we saw him again before the end of the regular season. And he could miss more time than that with a collapsed lung. And you'd think, well, how the hell that? He was just diving for a loose ball, was Cade Cunningham. And he winds up with a collapsed lung. Now, recovery from a collapsed lung, the immediate recovery, could be as short as 72 hours, but the full recovery from a collapsed lung could be several weeks, and that starts to get us into a situation where we're talking about Cade Cunningham potentially missing some of the playoffs, Sam.
Jason, this is one of the weirdest things, not weird in a bad way, like weird in a scary way. This is one of the weirdest things that you'll ever hear. I saw it and I did like a double take and then a triple take and maybe a quadruple take was thrown in there because it was like, wait, his lung collapsed just sliding on the floor to dive after a loose ball? It's crazy. To your point, the endurance thing is what I would have to imagine is the organizational stress, right, coming back from this. You think about how much NBA players run during an NBA game, not just talking about sprinting up and down the floor, but just running to get after a play and moving around the floor. That's got to be miles, right? So, gosh, you hope that Cade Cunningham's all right. Sure. You hope that he can come back and be his, be it a rules technicality or not, his MVP contending self. Like, I don't know, man. If I'm the Pistons, I'm terrified at what this means, not just this year, but like going down the road. Yeah.
I mean, look, and I'll even throw it. We hear athletes when they come back from major injuries, torn ACL, Achilles, whatever it is, and their trepidation about doing certain things that used to be just common to them. I wonder if, when he comes back, is he afraid to dive for a loose ball, even something as mundane as that, because you just collapsed your lung doing something that you probably have done a million times on a basketball court. We'll obviously keep tabs on it, and as the story develops, we'll continue to cover it here on the show. NBA last night, LeBron and Luka amaze in a Lakers win in Houston. Wait a minute, didn't that just happen? They just played them again? Yes, they did. And they beat them twice in a row. And now the Lakers are in the third position in the Western Conference, which sounds crazy considering a month ago we were just kind of thinking this team was dead in the water. You had LeBron saying this isn't a championship team. And now all of a sudden, with 30 from LeBron last night, 40 from Luka, combined 70, LeBron 8 of 8 in the first half for 18 points, throwing dunks all over the place at 41 years old. And the Lakers, a team on the right. You talk about two ships passing in the night right now. The Lakers and Rockets, certainly that, Sam.
Yeah, exactly, Jason. That is exactly it. Luka was outstanding. LeBron, I'm not even going to spend another minute on this show. I've already done it 1,000 times over, talking about the greatness that is LeBron James and how fortunate we all are to bear witness to it. But Jason, the Rockets.
Yeah.
I know we talked about it with Kurt Heelan yesterday. The Rockets are in such a bad way right now, and it just feels like nothing can go right for this team. Again, the Lakers look incredible offensively. My only thing with that is it feels like this has happened before, maybe even with the Lakers, but definitely with LeBron teams. They end up underperforming throughout the majority of the season, go on a hot run towards the end of the season, and have a very let down playoffs. That's my only concern, is that they build all this momentum and then first round or second round of the playoffs, it just collapses.
It feels to me like, and I know maybe this happens every year and we just don't pay as much attention to it. It feels like more than any other year, though, and I think Kurt even alluded to this yesterday when we had him on the show, that this year feels more than ever like it's just matchup predicated. Like it's just going to boil down to, who pairs up against who. And when you look at the West right now, if the Lakers are the 3 seed, they're taking on Denver in the first round. And they could just as easily win that series as they do lose that series. I do think that's actually, as crazy as it will sound, one of the better matchups for them, because I think where the Lakers struggle is with young athletic teams. The Denver Nuggets are not young and athletic when your biggest star is a guy that lumbers up and down the floor for 40 minutes a night. I think they can actually win that series, especially if you give them home court, where they're not going to have to play a game 7 potentially in the high air and the thin air there in Denver. Move that to the side for a second. Something else we briefly talked about with Kurt yesterday was the situation with Giannis Antetokounmpo and what the Bucks were going to do with him. He's banged up. He wants to come back and finish the season. The Bucks are saying, no, you just stay where you are. We want a better chance at one of those top draft picks. And these two, sort of at loggerheads here. This is not going to be a fun parting of the ways, Sam.
What the buck is going on in Milwaukee, man?
I'm dying to say that. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Thursday. Tomorrow on the show, full reaction to the opening day of the NCAA tournament. Anything else that pops up along the way. Hey, couple of reminders before we go. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, the place to listen to the show Monday through Friday, 45 minutes, waiting there for you early each afternoon. You can listen to it on your way to work, on your way home from work, on the treadmill, in the shower, while you're lying in bed, wherever you want. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. Subscribe today. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel is the place to find all things Sports Wrap with Jason Page, the Monday through Friday TV version of the show. 45 minutes, commercial free, waiting for you, again, early each afternoon. Also, the Sports Wrap Spotlight. You saw Dennis Bernstein on the show today. We take our guest segments, give them their own special spot on the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Sometimes those conversations go longer than we have for television, and we just simply put the entire thing on the YouTube channel. Perfect example, we had David Ardsma on the show yesterday. That was a 14 or 15-minute conversation for television. It was twice as long as that. You can get that in the Sports Wrap Spotlight over on the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Also, Sports Wrap Shorts available there. Sports Wrap Shorts, terrific. 1 to 3 minute long videos, breaking news, top stories. We have quick analysis, something you can ingest quickly as you go through your day. Sports Wrap Shorts also available on our TikTok, Sports Wrap Jason Page, and on our Instagram, you guessed it, Sports Wrap Jason Page. And now, without any further delay, on this Thursday edition of the show, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends. Sam Yarnell, apparently, you've got something you want to throw my way. I have no idea what this is. I will say that in advance, people. I have no idea what Sam is about to surprise me with, but go ahead, Sam.
Yes, I do, Jason. I have kept this under wraps the entire show because I wanted to get your raw emotional reaction to it. This was a question submitted to me after yesterday's show by one of our most loyal watchers.
Oh,
Jason, I must ask it to you because I was told to ask it to you. Is Aaron Judge the James Harden of baseball? Who chokes more than Aaron Judge? I cede the floor to you, sir.
It's so funny you should say that. I've seen this question posed recently about whether or not Aaron Judge is, the biggest, least clutch person now or least clutch star in sports. I don't think he's reached Harden's level yet. And I actually think I might have even responded to this on X when somebody else wrote it. I don't think Judge is there yet because Harden's had a longer career, a longer track record. I think Harden still has him beat, but there is a legitimate conversation that has to start being had when it comes to Aaron Judge and his lack of productivity in the clutch. I know he hit for a high average last year in the postseason. You don't have Aaron Judge to hit for a high average during the postseason. You have him to hit those key home runs that you see him hit during the regular season in game, 75 against the Nationals that nobody sees when you're up 7-2. That's great.
Hey.
I know, sorry. All right, I'll pick another one. The Reds. When he hits a home run against the Reds on a Sunday in game number 46, that's wonderful. But as a Yankee fan, as the one team I still live and die with, I want to see Aaron Judge hit those home runs in the postseason. I don't think he's at Harden levels yet, but it's, he's in the rearview mirror. He's definitely in the rearview mirror.
This may be the first time on an Aaron Judge topic I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Like James Harden's a generational choke artist. Aaron Judge isn't all the way there, but that conversation's getting real close.
Yes, I can't disagree with you. Odds and ends. Did you see this? End of the first quarter last night. Jonathan Kuminga, who's having this wonderful resurgence in his career since going to Atlanta to play for the Hawks, who have now won 11 games in a row in Dallas last night, going to throw a pass at the end of the quarter to one of his teammates down at the other end of the floor. Oh, yeah, it just happens to go in from 74 feet away, Sam. Amazing.
I mean, when things are going right, Jason, things are going really
good for
right.
him.
That's
good for
all
him.
You can chalk this up to, man.
And good for Jonathan Kuminga because he languished in the Bay Area with the Warriors. And the Warriors are going one direction right now, and Atlanta's going a completely different direction right now. After they traded away their star in Trae Young, it's amazing to see what's going on with the Atlanta Hawks. Hey, speaking of the Yankees, Garrett Cole back on the bump for the first time yesterday. Coming back from Tommy John surgery, 1 inning, 10 pitches, a scoreless inning for him. He won't be ready for the start of the season, but it won't be long before we see him back in the Bronx. Polymarket and Major League Baseball announcing, Sam, that Polymarket's going to be the official prediction market of Major League Baseball for the upcoming season. What say you?
Yeah, have fun with that. Enjoy, I guess. So now Major League Baseball, I think, just for the record, has an official sports book, which I'm not sure, but I believe is either FanDuel or Bet365. They've got the official prediction market, and I think they still have the official daily fantasy game of Major League Baseball. What are we doing here? And I'm a gambling guy, but when is enough enough?
Yeah, apparently it's not yet. We haven't gotten there yet. It's going to wrap it up for us on this Thursday edition of the show. Sam's off tomorrow. Sam, have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday. Thank you to Dennis Bernstein. Thanks to all of you at home for watching. I'm Jason Page. That's Sports Wrap. Enjoy the NCAA tournament. We'll see you tomorrow.